Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to continue our look at Off Comix. We're up to number 10 here, and once again we got another super sharp cover. Look at this great logo. I love this. The colors, the design. This is just a very snatchable comic from the comic racks. If I saw this on a comic rack, I guess it would be a head shop back then. I would have picked it up. Another great cover. All the artists drawing their own stuff, and very snazzy. I like it. We start off with another editorial from Frappington Wildebeest VII, and he announces that next issue will there's going to be a change of format. It's going to be magazine size, and we shall see this the next time we look at Off Comix. Half-page Fat Freddy's Cat by Gilbert Shelton. A cute little gag. And once again, we start off with the fabulous Furry Freak Brothers. And this story, they're in the 21st century. This is by Gilbert Shelton, Dave Sheridan, and Paul Mavrides, all sharing art duties. And I think it's pretty much just Gilbert Shelton writing. I think that's the breakdown. We've looked at this in our Freak Brothers videos already. But suffice to say, it's a really fun Freak Brothers story. It's 2003. For some reason, the Freak Brothers don't look a day older than they did, in the last story. And it's just got a lot of fun, like, sci-fi type gags. People pay for things with billion-dollar bills because inflation's gotten so bad. Everything's crazy sci-fi city looking. I guess Gilbert Shelton wasn't that good at predicting the future. I don't remember 2003 looking anything like this. It has a really great surreal ending here, where Phineas is like, ooh, what a crazy dream. What year is this? 1982, of course. But he's like this weird alien, and Franklin is like half bug. He's got like 6 arms. I like that ending a lot. Dino Boy on Mars by H.S. Robbins and Paul Mavrides. And I think, two great illustrators, really fine illustrators combining. It's really nice looking comic. I don't really get it. We see Dino Boy is on Mars. He trips basically and breaks his helmet. And he says, I wonder how long I can hold my breath. And that's how the comic ends. I don't really get the gag. But man, it looks nice. Now we have chapter 3 of Wonder Warthog in the Battle of the Titans. This is Return of the Future, is the name of this chapter. Gilbert Shelton writing with Joe E. Brown. Some kind of collaboration. I don't know who did what. And once again, Tony Bell collaborating on the art with Gilbert Shelton. I think he pencils and inks. They both do. Now, this is interesting because the first 2 chapters were from 1967. I guess they just had them sitting in a drawer somewhere. But now this 3rd chapter is, 1982, continuing the story exactly where they left off. So, back in the antediluvian times, Piltdown Pig, we see, still dead. His soul was snatched with that gun, that weird futuristic gun. The snows come, and over the centuries and millennia, he's frozen in this block of ice. So he's perfectly preserved. Man, even though the art looks different than those 60s ones, obviously, there's almost 20 years. Both of these artists, changed their style, I'm sure. But it still looks really good. I really like Tony Bell on Gilbert Shelton. So different than, Sheridan and Mavrides. But just a really good cartoonist. And so now it's modern times. We see an archaeologist and his guide. They dig up the ice block containing Piltdown Pig. They also find the Soul Snatcher gun. This looks like Kurtzman in here or something. This is really nice stuff. And he starts playing around with it. He doesn't really understand how to use it. So there's a bunch of, hijinks that ensue where souls keep getting snatched from, the sled dog. He puts Piltdown Pig's soul into the sled dog, puts him into his guide's body, and I guess this goes on for hours. But finally, the soul of Piltdown Pig ends up in Piltdown Pig. So Piltdown Pig's basically alive again because he's been preserved all that time. So Piltdown Pig, I guess the diagonal dimensional diver, the time machine, is still right there. And he jumps in it and immediately goes back 200,000 years to where he started. Now we see modern times still. We're in Motherlode. Motherlode has become just a den of crime. Well, the whole country has, because Wonder Warthog was never born. Without him, basically criminals are the majority. It's almost like a society that is built on crime. So we see this mob boss here, and here's where you can really tell the difference. That doesn't look like Gilbert Shelton at all. I think Tony Beltoli penciled this, and because I would never guess that was Gilbert Shelton. So just like that's obviously Gilbert Shelton, but really great cartooning. I love his drawing style. So this mob boss has a plan. He wants to basically jail the few people who aren't criminals. People like teachers, bankers, merchants, though some might say that bankers are criminals. And he can do it. Because basically in this future, the cops just listen to the mob bosses. It's kind of a kleptocracy. Now we are back in the antediluvian times. Piltdown Pig has landed, and Wonder Warthog, Paranoid Punk Pig, and the Pig from the Future are all alive now. If you remember, they blinked out of existence when Piltdown Pig was killed because they are all descendants of Piltdown Pig. Now that he's alive, they blink back into existence, and it's like they never left. So they dive back into the time machine, leaving Piltdown Pig in the past, and they want to return to Motherlode. Now we see Motherlode. The mob boss's plan has been enacted. Teachers, businessmen, and bankers are all in jail. Wonder Warthog is like public enemy number one in this world. Since he's good, people don't like him. And Piltdown Pig is revered and admired as a hero. And so Wonder Warthog goes back to basically say hi to the police because he's always been their pal. And as soon as they see him, they jump him. And look at this amazingly gory scene. Wonder Warthog just massacres these police guys to a man. We see like a cop's arm in his hand. He's ripped it off. Meanwhile, Piltdown Pig is having a kind of a similar problem where he's being mobbed by fans so much he's got to attack these people to keep them off of him. They want a piece of his t-shirt or something, It's like Beatlemania. So Wonder Warthog says, I need a drink. I'll go to that bar that Piltdown Pig was heading towards. And he hooks up with his brother. And the bartender won't serve him. He says, we don't serve warthogs here. So Wonder Warthog just punches him through the wall and serves himself. They have like a keg of beer each. And then they hook up. They're walking down the street and they see the Pig from the Future again. And they basically, Wonder Warthog says, we got to do something about all these felons running around. The city is full of perverts and felons. It's not like how it was before we left. We got to do something. But I'm going to need a pick-me-up first. So Piltdown Pig takes Wonder Warthog to his apartment, gives him a whole barrel of cocaine, which Wonder Warthog proceeds to snort every last grain of it. $200,000 worth of cocaine. This angers Piltdown Pig. They get in a fight. But then they finally settle their differences. And Wonder Warthog says, we got to go visit the chief of police. He'll know what's going on. And when they go up to his office, he's not the same chief of police. He even offers them heroin. He's like, hey, you guys want a drink? You want some heroin? This is very odd here. There's all these chickens in kind of lingerie, and they all have balloons, helium balloons, with women's names on them. Susan B. Anthony, Bo Derek, Dolly Parton, Gertrude Stein, Ms. Colonel Sanders. So I don't know what's they're needed for, but I can guess. So basically just trying to show that, yeah, even in this world, the chief of police is a total degenerate criminal. And now that's the last panel until next issue. Next we have Frank Crankcase's Time Machine by Fulbert Sturgeon. I guess Frank Crankcase is kind of like the alter ego of Fulbert Sturgeon. So it's almost his way to like stick himself in the story, even though this is very fantastical. And even though I was worried that Frank Stack's art was, going a little downhill last issue, this is great art. I really like this, how this is drawn. Some of these panels are just beautiful. So, Frank Crankcase gets a new bunch of bills and overdraft fees. He's tired of being behind, always being behind on rent. He's always broke. He decides to buy a time machine. He figures that'll solve all his problems. His plan is he can always just jump back to the first of the month when he has plenty of money in the bank, just over and over. So he gets this time machine. It's kind of a cheap one, and you have to assemble it yourself, and he is just totally perplexed. This is way above his technical skills, but he finally kind of gets it to assembles it. Sorry guys, I was a little distracted. So many great panels in this of just his face. So there's one thing that they say, the time machine won't really work unless you get this Giga or this whatever Framistat. He's just like, I don't need that. Screw that. So when he turns on the time machine, you know that science fiction idea there, if you have a time machine, you go back in time, you got to control the space too, because the Earth will have moved. Who knows where it'll be in the solar system. And so he lands in the middle of space. He's got like 2 minutes to live. He's holding his breath. And it's all because he didn't have that Framistat. And guys, look at this beautiful panel of him. You can barely see him. He's floating through space, but this cross-hatching here is just, I don't know, I'm fascinated by this. I don't know if it's technically good art, but man, I love looking. I was just staring at this panel last night for like 5 minutes. Something about it. So he's dying, and all of a sudden God takes notice, the creator as he calls him. And he's just like, usually I don't intervene in these things, but what the hell, I'm bored. I'm going to help this guy out. I'm going to return him 60 seconds into the past before he hit the time machine. There's a running gag in all the ripoff. Well, Gilbert Shelton, I believe, started it. But a lot of underground cartoonists like to have Tree Frog beer in their comics. So God is drinking Divine Frog beer. So now he's back safe at home. And he's gone back in time. And he says, okay, I guess I got to get that gyrometric space-time subject locator attachment. And then it says, to be continued, maybe. So I think Frank Case was just like, I don't really care. I just wanted to tell a goofy story. Maybe it'll continue, maybe it won't. So now we have another one of Gilbert Shelton's Advanced International Motoring Tips. Spain. Really beautiful logo there. God, I love that lettering. And this is kind of like last issue's comic about France, where it's not being silly. It's just telling you the crazy kooky differences of automobile culture and driving in Spain. And, it's kind of interesting, actually. And I guess his motoring tips every issue kind of link up with the international comics section. This month we have Spanish comics. We have a little intro from Gilbert Shelton. And I gotta say, I want to point out, even though this is a little off topic, basically El Vibora, that great Spanish kind of undergroundy comic magazine, even though it's sold on newsstands, had just come out. Gilbert Shelton was living in Spain at the time. He really liked it. He said it really captured the spirit of the undergrounds of all the magazines in France, Italy, any other country. El Vibora was really like X-rated. They just didn't give a shit. And I guess Spain was super liberal at the time because they'd finally shaken off the yoke of Franco and fascism. So it's almost like they went the other way, where they were like, everything's permitted. Like, we're not going to censor anything. So he's talking up El Vibora, and this cartoonist right here, whose name is Pons, I guess he's like in every issue of El Vibora. Gilbert Shelton tells us that we went through all of his comics, though, and we couldn't find a comic that we could reprint. So I never realized this, is that I guess ripoff, I should have realized this, because when you look at Gilbert Shelton's comic, nothing is ever that, X-rated. Like most undergrounds, it's kind of a thing about undergrounds. Like, yeah, do whatever the hell you want. But I never realized that, ripoff comics was kind of like they turned stuff down because it was too underground. So he says that they couldn't publish any of these Pons. They just figured they'd do this illustration. And I don't know, I just thought that was interesting. I never knew this before. And then one of the guys who works for El Vibora does another introduction. A little more knowledgeable, he knows what's going on. His name's Only You. Oh, I get it. Only You. And he tells us a little bit about all the artists. So now, we start off with La Dolce Vita. And this is by a cartoonist named G. Cifre. The letter G, Cifre. And kind of a fun little style here. It seems like perfect for gags, And it's not a very good gag, though. This guy wants a cigarette really bad, sees everyone else smoking. He's jonesing. So he finds a newspaper and rolls it up and smokes it. Basically saying the color pages, they'll knock you out. I guess because they got extra chemicals in them or something. Not very funny at all. This one's interesting. The day of the death of John Lennon. Really like this cartoonist. His name is Gallardo. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a collaboration, so I don't know who does what. It's Gallardo and Mediavilla. And just talking about the day John Lennon died, the whole world seemed to be mourning. I know, well, this guy kind of reminds me of like he could draw for like one of those English kid comics like Beano or something. It's very silly, goofy style. So now we meet our main character. His name, I guess, it's a character of these cartoonists called The Kid. And his father's trying to beat down his door so he can beat the crap out of him. I guess the kid stole from his dad. The mother's just like, oh, leave him alone. Please, Ramon. He's a good boy. So he finally kicks in the door. And I'm sorry, before he kicks in the door, though, he hears a voice. And it says, listen, my little friend, I am here with you. It is me, John Lennon. And you must perform the task I give you. You must hold up every pharmacy in the world, and I will help you. So the father breaks down the door. The mother appeases the father, saying that, oh, look, he bought you a gift, this nice stereo, kind of boombox. He didn't buy it for the dad, but this is the way to save his neck. And then he takes off in his father's truck. He's a little delinquent, the kid. He's a bad seed. So he rams his truck into this pharmacy, robs it blind, and takes off. He goes to this where a bunch of like punk rock type dudes are hanging out, and he just gives them all the drugs, and they have a big party. And then John Lennon's voice says, well done, I shall now give you another quest. I don't know if these continued. I don't know if the kid kept getting commands from John Lennon's ghost. Just kind of a fun, goofy story. And really fun, really easy on the eyes cartooning. This next one is almost like it's just these little strips. I think these appeared in a newspaper. This is a guy named Cento, and really liked the style. It's kind of like that punky new wave style, like post-Gary Panter, Mark Merrick. Everything's very angular, and the ink line looks like the guy was on amphetamines when he was inking. And they're kind of goofy little gags. We see this toothpaste guy. He's a toothpaste container, kind of anthropomorphic. And I guess he seems all jittery, and then his bottom comes off. So he basically poops out toothpaste, and then he's all like, that feels better. Just kind of goofy gags like that. But man, I really like this art style. Maybe if I was lived in Spain, these would be funnier. I don't know. And this is really interesting. We get to see a really young Martí, who later went on to do the cabbie, lots of great stuff. This one's called Outside the Law, and you can really see his Chester Gould in this appreciation in this comic. So we see this guy, he's outside of a grocery store type place, a bodega, and he's planning a crime. He's got a screwdriver in his pocket, and he's gonna rob the store. He's waiting for most of the customers to leave, but eventually he just says, those ladies won't leave, so I'm just going to do it. And pretty soon we realize this guy isn't the best thief. He's kind of bumbling. So he asks for the money, and when he reaches in his pocket to get the screwdriver, he can't get it out. It's kind of stuck in his pocket. And these women are just like, what? And look at this, how Chester Gould, Dick Tracy these are, these panels. So the woman who works there, she grabs this vacuum cleaner pole because he still can't get the screwdriver out, and she bashes him a bunch of times right in the head. But then his survival skill kicks in, and he punches her in the face. Very violent, it just looks like these blows are really causing injury. So he takes out the proprietor of the store, proprietress, and then the other woman picks up the vacuum and starts bashing his head in. So he strikes back, throws her into this shelf of stuff, and she looks down for the count for sure. And then the guy realizes that the whole thing's fucked. Even though he got the money, he's just like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. And he runs right into the path of this huge delivery truck and is killed instantly. And then there's kind of a lesson at the bottom, as if this was an old Charles Biro comic. You can't even depend on the law of averages when you live outside the law. But man, this is just really great looking stuff. I guess it's good that maybe Chester Gould, I don't think Chester Gould was alive then to sue him, because it really looks like it. Speaking of early works, this is by Max, the great Spanish cartoonist who went on to do many graphic novels, probably hundreds of short stories over the decades. This is really great looking. This is beautiful, sharp cartooning here. This looks like classic underground comic stuff. And this one's called The Day of the Coup. And we see the Spaniard guy. The radio kind of makes it sound like a coup's happening. I guess that was the thing. After Franco was deposed, Spain constantly lived in fear that parts of the military would try another one, or, try another fascist coup. And it was always on people's minds, like they never knew, because it happened once, and there were still some guys in the military. They couldn't weed them all out, all these fascists. So people were always like, walking on eggshells. So I guess he's got kind of a bug-out kit, which consists of a bomb and a gun. I guess it's different than a bug-out kit. It's just like a rebellion kit. He calls up his friend. The friend's just taken off. He's like, you want to ride with me? I'm getting out of Spain. And he calls him a coward. He's like, no, we got to fight back. But then when he hears the radio again, and the radio makes it sound like, oh, martial law is declared. Looks like the military's won, the fascists. And then he calls his friend back. He's like, oh shit, I gotta get out of here. But then they come to his door, and it turns out it's this woman. She was just joking. She bangs on the door saying, open up the door, you anarchist son of a bitch. It's actually this girl that he kind of has a crush on. So she says, let's basically have a last dance before democracy falls. Thus we form the ultimate democratic coalition. So kind of a happy ending, even though, I'm sorry, it does give us a happy ending. The narrator tells us that the coup d'etat was thwarted, at least this afternoon. But it was really fun to get to see this early Max. I've never seen anything this, even close to this early from him. I really like this cartoonist too. Totally different style. This guy's name is Kim. This is Martinez the Fascist. It's about this old guy, Spaniard, who's a fascist. And, he hates the way things are now. He wished Franco was still alive. I guess his name is Florentino. So he's got a daughter who's pregnant. And the mother says, his wife, says, good news, she at least agreed to marry the guy. So he calls over all his friends. He's going to have a big wedding party. But then, of course, he's worried about people seeing the bump in her belly. So the mother gives her this very old-timey dress, which will cover up all signs of her pregnancy. But then she takes it off in front of everyone. I don't really get the gag. It's kind of a weird, dumb gag. But his art is just really neat. It's almost like that Edward Sorel guy. I see all these kind of like classic cartoonists in here. Like guys who, worked for the New Yorker and stuff even. Pretty interesting. This next one. Sorry about that. I had to take a sip of water. This is called Saturday in the Apartments. And this is by Nazario, who kind of is well known, considering he's a Spanish artist, in America. Catalan used to publish his graphic novels, translated them, and sold them in America in the 80s. He was a gay artist, and so a lot of his graphic novels would touch on that, talk about the gay experience. And this is a kind of just a little vignettes of all these people in different apartments, and just they're hanging out on a Saturday night. So little character studies, and we just see all these random people. It's kind of interesting. His art kind of looks undergroundy to me too. It's almost like Sharon Rudall or something. Here's one gay party. Because, even in underground comics, they weren't talking about, queer culture at all. Willie Murphy was a handful of people, very rare. So now we have the embarrassing question man asks, what is love? And this is by a guy named Montesol. And this is like exactly what it sounds like. We see a reporter asking people, what is love? All the answers are kind of funny and odd. For me, love is a vaginal orgasm. I like to tell it like it is. This little lucky bastard's like, love is just good luck. And now we have An Exit of Basques. This is by Simonides. Really like this guy's cartooning too. This kind of reminds me of that 80s, like he could be a National Lampoon or something. So we see this character named Itkusi with an X, Itzuzi, and he's painting his mother's flat. And he's kind of doing it begrudgingly. He's just like, God, I wish I was out drinking with my friends. This sucks. And then all of a sudden he hears this commotion. And he sees all these people running down the apartment stair steps, into the streets. And then he hears some kind of cop says, open up the door. And they're grilling him and basically harassing him. He's trying to stand up for himself and says, like, what are you doing in my apartment? Get out. I have rights. But then the mother comes out and, it's just like, oh, I'm an old lady. I have a very weak heart. Please don't come into my flat. The strain would kill me. Kind of an odd little strip. So the sergeant tells the old lady, the guy in charge, the sergeant says, okay, just let me in so I can look around. I don't want to worry you. And all these, my guys will stay outside. And so they find a kid hiding under the bed and an old guy hiding in the closet. I don't really get this comic now. I'm looking at it again. I do like the drawing, though, a lot. And here's one by Gilbert Shelton, who I guess is now kind of a Spaniard. He's been living there for a year. This is Final Pooch in Spain. Just like what I was just talking about, Gilbert Shelton is talking about how people constantly were scared of another coup happening. In fact, in 1978, one did almost happen. This lieutenant colonel planned to kidnap the president, but his plan failed. The president was feeling charitable, so he only sentenced him to 6 months and then let him rejoin the National Guard. I'm trying to loosely translate it. It's the Guardia Civil. And 3 years later, he tried to do another coup. This coup also failed. This time they threw the book at him. 30 years in jail. So now Gilbert Shelton extrapolates. So in the year 2011, the colonel was finally, once again, freed and restored to his rank in the Guardia Civil. Once again, he foments another coup. It's just like two old guys, one's in a wheelchair. And they storm the Spanish government building. And all the politicians just say, you want it? It's yours. Spain's not worth a damn anymore. And I guess all the secessionist movements of the 60s and 70s and 80s, they all won. So, the Basques and the Catalans have their own government, and then the Galicians and the Aragones and the Malagueñans and the Castilians, they all have their own country. He tells them that Spain now is 2 square blocks in downtown Madrid. And furthermore, we owe $35 trillion to the Arabs for oil. And he's still happy as hell. He's like, yes, Spain is fascist again, even though it's 2 square blocks. And we see this Castilian border. He says, just don't cross this here frontier. You can do whatever you want. But this is Castile, not Spain. That's a fun one. This is really weird. It's an ad. And it's, according to the Comics Joint, it's written by Cecil Anguera. But this is drawn by Paul Mavrides. Kind of manipulated. This is just, I love Paul Mavrides. He's a genius. And this is weird because it's a kind of a fake ad for comic books. And it's written very much in that subgenius style, which, Paul Mavrides was a very big part of the start of that. So it's almost like a fake ad for ripoff, but it didn't even mention ripoff except for this tiny comic here. But it's just the way it's written is funny and very subgenius-like. Here we have the letter page again, and I guess not many people were writing in. And so Frappington Wildebeest has to solicit for letters. And we have another beautiful back cover by Gilbert Shelton of the Ripoff Press Rooftop Miniature Golf Course and Beer Meditation Gazebo. So just continuing his fantastical kind of wish fulfillment drawings of the rip-off offices. This is just really fun. And once again, you can totally tell Gilbert Chilton really thinks about the architecture. It's just, I love these. They're so much fun. And I would love to hang out here. But apparently, only the bigwigs could go up there and golf. We see one of the art slaves looking up, just like hoping to catch a glimpse. And but he's not allowed up for 30 years. So there you go, guys. Rip-Off Comics number 10, the last of the comic book-sized issues. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I thought this was another great issue. I'm loving the cartoonists around the world. This comic has like doubled in entertainment value for me since they got these little sections. Really fun stuff. But overall, just really fun issue. And I hope to see you next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.